Hi everybody, it's Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this little bell here. It's got a little jingle at the bottom and a bow that I haven't glued on yet. But it's really easy and it's really fast. Now the bell itself, not counting the hanger, is about 2.5 inches tall. And there's stuffing inside of here. So for this project, you're going to need any type of 4-weight yarn will be fine. Actually, you can use any yarn that you want. If you use a bigger yarn, your bell will be bigger. If you use a smaller yarn, it'll be smaller. You could even use thread if you want. Come out with a little teeny tiny bell. Doesn't matter to me. It's your bell. You use what you want. You can use any fiber as well. I'm using, I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby, which is an acrylic 4-weight. It's the red metallic. This is the gold metallic. And then you're going to need a little bit of fiber fill or something to stuff the top of the bell with. If you don't have fiber fill, yarn scraps are good. You can even use ripped up pieces of toilet paper. It's anything to fill up the top. And then if you want to add a little jingle bell, doesn't matter what size. I guess it depends on what bell you use, but yeah. And then we're going the bow. If you want to put a bow, I got like a whole bunch of these on Amazon for really inexpensive, and they're pre-tied because I can't tie a bow for anything. And then we're gonna be using a size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. That's with the 4-weight yarn. If you're using a different weight, just use whatever you think is sufficient. Probably a little bit smaller than what it recommends on the label, maybe. I didn't even look, but yeah, this says to use a 5.5. I'm using a 5, not that much smaller, but that's okay. And that's it. Other than a pair of scissors and a yarn needle, we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, so you want to go ahead and start with a slip knot on your hook like that. And then we're just going to work a chain of 2. 1, 2, and then we're going to be working back into the first chain. And we're going to work 6 single crochets into that stitch, that very first stitch. So there's 1, 2, it tightened up on me. I hate that. 3, there we go, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so we have 6 single crochets now worked into that first stitch, and now we're going to be working in a round. So if you want to use a stitch marker to keep your spot, that would be helpful. I'm just going to use a piece of yarn here, so I'm going to put it in between my last stitch that I just made and the first one. Okay. Alrighty, so that was round 1 that we just finished. Now what we're going to do is jump over to the very first single crochet. I always got to count back though. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. When I'm dealing with single crochet, and we're going to put 2 single crochets into that first single crochet. So there's 1 and 2, and then we're going to work 2 single crochets in each of the 6 single crochets from the previous row. So we're doubling up the amount of single crochets that we had for row 2. This is what we're on, is row 2. Working 2 singles in every stitch until we make it back to our stitch marker. Alright. And when you make it back to your stitch marker at the end of round 2, you should have 12 stitches. You can go ahead and pull your marker out and move it up. And we'll go ahead and start again. We'll work on round 3. This time we're going to jump over to our first single crochet, and we're just going to work 1 single crochet into the first one. And then the next one will get 2 single crochets in it. and that will be the repeat for round 3. 1 single crochet into the next, and then 2 single crochets into the next, 1 single crochet into the next, and then 2 single crochets into the next, and you want to repeat that all the way around until you make it back to your stitch marker. Alright, when you make it back to your stitch marker there at the end of round 3, you'll have 18 single crochets now, and that's the number that we want to keep. Now before you move on, if you want to go ahead and flip your work over and hide that tail, close up your center circle, hide that tail, sew it in, and then we can move on to row 4. So rows 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, the next 5 rows, are all going to be just rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and you're always going to have 18 stitches. So we're on row 3 now, and we're getting ready to start row 4, and we're just going to do 1 single crochet in every single stitch. You move your marker up like I did all the way around until you make it back to your starting point or your stitch marker, and you'll have 18 stitches still. And you want to do that for a total of 8 rounds, counting row 1. And remember, we're on row 4 now. So just continue around with 1 single crochet in every stitch. When you get back to your marker, you move it up, go around again till you have finished out 8 total rounds, starting with round 1. You will have 18 stitches here at the end of every round. Alright, it's flipping kind of backwards on me. Gotta go like that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish out my 8 rounds, and I'll meet back up with you. Alright, so I do want to apologize. You want to do a total of 9 rounds. I'm sorry, I said 8, but 9 total. And that is starting from round 1. 1, 2, 3. This is on round 3 was the last row that we increased on, and then it was this round of 1 single crochet in every stitch. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 total. And once you make it back to your stitch marker, you'll still have 18 single crochets. And what we're going to do is, you can take that marker out, we don't need it anymore. We're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, but we're going to go through the loop that is furthest away from us, so the back loop. And we're going to slip stitch into that one loop like that, and then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go back into that same stitch, only working through that one loop and doing a single crochet. Now we're going to work a row doing 1 single crochet, only going through that loop that's in the back, leaving the loop closest to us exposed, because that's where we're going to put the bottom part of the bell, attach it to that front loop. So I'm going to put 1 single crochet in the back loop of each of those 18 stitches, just like that. See, I'm only going through that one loop in the back, and that leaves that ridge right there, and we'll work in that here in just a bit. So I'll see you when I make it back around to the beginning, and then we'll have to get our stuffing ready and close this up. Alright, so I've made it around. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into my first single crochet, but I'm going to go through both loops now. We're not going to do the one loop anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch through there, and I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to put 1 single crochet back into that first stitch, like that, and then I'm going to do a single crochet decrease over the next 2. So the single crochet decrease is worked over 2 stitches. So you go into the next stitch, and then you draw up a loop, and you go on to the next one after that, and you draw up a loop, and you'll have 3 loops. You want to yarn over and go through all 3 nice and tight. That took 2 stitches and made it into 1. Now we're going to repeat that process. We're going to put 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then a single crochet decrease over the next 2. So we're going to go into the next one and draw up a loop, and then into the next one and draw up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over and go through all 3. again, 1 single crochet into the next stitch. Try to keep your stitches nice and tight, because what we're doing is closing up the bottom. And then we're going to decrease over the next 2. So go into the next one, draw up a loop, and the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops, single on the next, and then decrease over the next 2, single into the next, and decrease over the next 2. We're going to repeat this until we get back to our starting point, which I am there after this last decrease here, like that. And we can go ahead and slip stitch into our first single crochet. Now we can put a little stuffing in here. Go ahead and pull that out. Whatever you're using for stuffing, doesn't really matter. Well, maybe I should have done it sooner, I guess. Okay, you want to stuff it a little tight. I mean, not extremely tight, but yeah, we'll get it down in there. There we go. All right, there we go. Now we're going to close it up the rest of the way, and we are not going to be doing any more slip stitching at the end of the row. We're just going to work straight single crochet decreases until we get it, till we can't do any more, and then we sew up the leftovers. All right, so let me shove that down there really good. All right. So I'm going to start with a chain 1, and I'm going to go back to that first stitch. I'm going to go into it and draw up a loop, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch and draw up a loop and yarn over and go through all 3. And you want to do this as tight as possible, and look closely and make sure you're not going into the same stitch, because sometimes when you start to do them tight, they stretch and pull, and it looks like maybe you haven't worked in the stitch, but you have. So we're just going to decrease around, keep doing the single crochet decrease, and then when we can't do it anymore, we can tie it off with a long tail and sew up the bottom the rest of the way with the yarn needle. You might have a different number than me here. That doesn't really matter. Just decrease until you can't do it anymore. Alright, I think I'm gonna probably call it quits here in just a second. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead after that last one I just did. I'm gonna pull my yarn up, leave a long tail for sewing, and as you can see, I didn't close up my circle all the way, but that's okay. Now I can sew it. So pull that tight and get a yarn needle, and we'll just close it up and hide our tail at the same time. So just kind of take it and close it up the rest of the way. And while we're doing that, we're hiding our tail, sewing it in. All right, that's good for me. I think that works. Okay, now we're going to go back to those loops, those front loops that we left earlier down here. And I'm going to go ahead, and you can start any one of those right down there. See that? And we're going to start our yarn in any one of those front loops. And we are going to chain 1. And we're going to go back into that same loop, and we're going to work 2 double crochets. So there's 1, and then there's 2. And then now the next loop. So we're only working in that front loop. The next loop is just going to get 1 double crochet in it, and that will be the repeat all the way around. So the next loop will get 2 doubles into the same loop, 1, 2, and the next one is just going to get 1. The next loop, 2 doubles, 1, 2, and the next one, only 1. So we're going to go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you when we make it to the end of this round. Alright, when you make it all the way around, you want to go ahead and end by slip stitching into your first double crochet. We're going to do one more round here. We're going to do the reverse single crochet. That's what puts that little edge on it, otherwise known as the crab stitch. So we're going to chain 1, and all it is, it's single crochet, but we're working it in the opposite direction, and it can get a little bit awkward at first, but you'll get the hang of it. You just go in the opposite way and go through the stitch, draw your yarn through like that, and then yarn over and go through those loops, and then you go into the stitch from the front like this, grab your yarn, pull it out. It's kind of like twisting over itself. That's what it's doing. It's making like a twisting design. Again, go into the next stitch, put your hook into the front like that, grab your yarn, pull it back out, and it's twisting around, which is what it's supposed to do. Go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it out, and yarn over and go through the loops on your hook. And you want to do this all the way around. Now if you're having difficulty doing this, you'll be fine with just working 1 single crochet, regular in every stitch. It won't have the twisted edge, but it will work out the same as far as being the same size and making it lay the same. But you can do this. Sometimes it just takes a little practice. I have difficulty with it quite a bit, but it sure does make a pretty edge. Just remember, we're working in the opposite direction. We're just putting our hook in like that, grabbing our yarn, and it feels like it's wrong because these are all they're twisted over each other, but that's okay. Just yarn over and go through them the way they are twisted, because they are supposed to be twisted like that. And we're going to work this 1 in every stitch all the way around, and then when we make it back around, we can slip stitch into our first one, and we can clip the yarn, hide any remaining tails, and we'll go ahead and put the bell on and add our hanger, and then we will be finished. So that's what it looks like there. Right, so if you want to add a jingle bell, you can just take your yarn needle and a piece of yarn and thread it through here if it'll fit. That one's not going to. Let's see if I can find a bigger one. I got big yarn needles for some reason. Well, then green we won't use. We'll go with the silver. So you just thread it through there like that, and kind of just poke through the center like that, and bring your bell up here. Here's your tail in here, and get it where you want it, and then you can kind of just sew it on in the center area like that. And you'll have to hide your other tail as well, but you just get it on there tight in the center where you want it. Mine's move it around because I need to go back through it. There we go. Alright, so we get that all sewed on there. There we go. It's not pretty, but it's on. I'm going to hide my tails, and we'll go ahead and put the hanger on, okay? I'm going to get that fixed up too. Alright, there's that. Now we can take our yarn and hook again, and we're just going to go through that first row and then back through the center here, somewhere here. Pop through the center, and then pull your yarn back through, and then you can make this as long as you want. I'm going to chain 18. There's 18, and I'm going to go back down into the same spot again, and then slip stitch, and that will make our hanger. And then you can tie that off and hide those tails. Alright, all done. Now we can, if you want to put a bow or something on it, you can. I'll probably hot glue one on, just like that, or you could decorate it in any way that you see fit, but that's it. That's how you do it. Simple, quick, easy, and fun. Little jingles. You don't even have to use them for your tree. You can make them for whatever you need them for, or just for fun. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on my next video, okay? Take care. Bye.